I'll mute myself. Welcome everybody. Can you hear me? Hopefully you can. I've just turned on the mic. Welcome to Monday. So we are doing the first of 5 webinars for the week. I'm just going to wait for everybody to arrive. There's a lot of people still coming in. This is going to probably be the biggest one that we've ever done. I guess everyone's working at home now and they're all trying to work out the best ways to do that. So hopefully we get a good few people in here. What I will do is I will just add in, hopefully somewhere on your screen or somewhere wherever you're using this, you'll be able to see a Q&A box. And there's a chat box as well. Hello, Leslie Ann. She's already said hello there. Yeah, there's a good number of people coming in now. So the purpose of today's webinar is to go through just one feature, which is really the observations and stories, creating observations and stories. This is the core of the system and it's what we designed it for in the first place. For those of you who don't know, we've got our own nursery in Edinburgh. And right back at the beginning, we realized that creating observations and doing them to a high standard was taking up a lot of time. And to do them to the standard that the local authority wanted them done to, and the care inspectorate wanted them done to, and even ourselves, it just took so much time. And we looked around, we couldn't find something that was designed specifically with nursery needs in mind. And also, we're based in Scotland, so for the Scottish curriculum, and the things that were there just weren't really easy to use, we didn't find. So we designed our own, and it's kind of gone from there. The council came down, they saw it, and they suggested we show it to other nurseries, and that's where it's grown from. So the core of the system is being able to take observations. So let's move this over to the screen here. And obviously now we do a lot more than that, but the core really is still documenting those significant points of learning and sharing them with parents. So we're going to go through how we do that at the moment. So if I share my screen, here we go. There we go. So hopefully you can see my screen there, and you should see a sunshine, a tree, and a rainbow. And if at any point you've got any questions, fire them into the Q&A app or section there, and we'll get to those either at the end, or I'll maybe try and take them as we're going through things. I'm going to try and limit things to just these features, because we do have a few other webinars planned that will delve into things like tracking and monitoring. We've got our next steps, sort of admin style things as well. So if there's anything else you want to know about, stick on the Q&A, we'll get to that. But let's get into observations. So your account should look very similar to what we're seeing here. We've got this set up for a typical private nursery, which is the baby room, the toddler room, and a preschool room. But if you're in a primary school, this might look different because you might have primary classes, and your rooms might look different as well. But it's really just a way to organize the child's profiles. You can have as many rooms as you want, and you can change these and edit these and do whatever you want all through your configuration tab up here. What I'll do, if I go into my 3 to 5 room at the moment, you can see those. So here we've got all of our, what we call our 3 to 5, and each one of these represents a child's profile. So let's go into one of them, and I'm going to use the one I always use when I'm doing my demonstrations. That's cheeky little Alistair here. And if we open up his profile, what we have on the left-hand side, we've got some basic information down here. And then on the right-hand side, we've got all his observations, and they stack up newest to oldest, so newest at the very top. And we can scroll down here and see all the older observations that have been taken. An observation is made up of today's date. It gives details about which areas of a specific framework you are documenting. It's got a description, which is the part that's entered by the practitioners. If there's more than one person has been involved in creating the observation, that will be detailed down here. You can also have evidence in the form of photos or videos. So you can see we've got 4 photos for this particular observation. And you can have up to 4. You don't have to have 4, but you can have up to 4. And there's a section down here for parents. So parents can use this to feedback on what they think about the child's learning or whatever's happened in that particular observation. They can either leave a comment in the box here, like John has done, or they can click on this like button here just to acknowledge, because not every parent's going to leave a comment, but some of them might just want to just acknowledge that they've seen this observation. If I scroll down a little bit more, well, if I go back to this one, you can see that says it's our observation. Next to this, we've got our learning outcomes and progression pathways tab. If I click into this, you can see which parts of the curriculum have been observed in this or experienced in this observation. So I can scroll down there and I can see that. There you go. So we've got two here, art and design, both two art and design ones. So let's take an observation and show you that process. If we, the way to start an observation up, we've got two buttons at the very top here. One says add observation, one says add a story. I'll come back to a story in a second, but all we want to do is we want to imagine Alistair's doing something we want to observe, and we click on add observation. So this takes us into the observation creation process, and we try to keep this as simple as possible. I know that many people are not very comfortable with technology, but we want to make sure this is as easy as possible. All you've got to do is follow the instructions. At this point, you can't go and delete your entire account or delete all the parents or wipe out all the children or anything like that. Anything you do here can be undone. So do remember that. All you have to do really is go through the boxes. And the first one here says, what were they doing? And the next one is, what did they learn? These used to be one box. We used to have one box for a description about the observation, but about 6 months ago, we changed it because we got feedback from local authorities that suggested it might be better if a staff member or practitioner or teacher could focus on the actual learning that was taking place and put this into this box here. So at the top, you can just say what's actually happening. So let's say that Alistair was taking part in a number activity. Obviously, you guys would have a much more thorough observation in there. And maybe as a team, you would have a discussion about what does a good observation look like. So I'm not going to go into quality of observations in this section here. That's something I think that every nursery will have their own view on, and you should have a discussion about that with your own teams and make sure it's clear and consistent, that everybody knows what sort of things should I be observing and what the quality of a good observation looks like. So this box here, what did they learn? That's optional. You don't have to put anything in here if you don't want to. The only thing you do need to enter is the description. It's got that wee star up the top there. There's a section here for child's voice. And the idea here is that, well, what we try and do in our nursery, as much as possible, we'll create the observations with the children. So whether it be sitting with the children, taking part in the activity. So at this point, when we get to the child's voice, we can turn the iPad to the child and they can click on these faces and they can say how they felt about what they've done here. If they say anything, we can note it down here. So I could just say that I love this activity, is something that Alistair said. So yeah, if you want to use this section, you can. Again, it's optional. With any of these ones that are optional, if you don't enter any content into it, the parents don't see a blank box when they look at the child's profile. So anything you don't enter, it just doesn't show up. So it's not like you're seeing lots of empty content as a parent. The next section is called Next Steps. So the idea here is that you could set a goal or a target based on what you're seeing in the description or in the activity here. Now, next steps are optional. And the mistake that we made, I feel, as a nursery when we started using this, is that we would add in a next step every single time an observation was taken. And what we quickly found was that after 50 observations, we had 50 next steps. And we were never going to get around to following up all those next steps or making sure they'd been achieved or completed or whatever. So bear that in mind when you're taking observations, that not every observation will need a next step. So the way we manage it now is that at the beginning of a term, we set 2 or 3 next steps for a child to be working on for that session. And it's usually a health and wellbeing, literacy and numeracy, depending on which framework you guys are following. And that works for us because it keeps it manageable for each child. There's a separate screen that shows you all the next steps that you're working on for each child, and you can follow them up much more easily if you've got a sensible number of next steps for each child. Okay. The date is automatic, so that's here. If it was something you had done and you hadn't had time to write it up yet, you can change the date and go back in time, so you've got all that there. It automatically puts your name. I'm logged in as our manager, Marion here. So automatically it has your name, but if it was somebody else that had created this observation, you could change that name here. Then you come to upload photos or videos. So when I click on this button here, I'm on my laptop, so it's just going to search through the computer to upload these pictures. So I'll just upload a couple of them. There's one of the BFG. What else have we got? And I'll put, oops. Let's see here. Where's Zoom going? I appear to have closed all my windows down. So let's go back into that. Well, that's live webinars for you, I suppose. Okay. So we'll get back to Alistair here. Mary asked a good question there. So she's asked a question, will we ever be able to upload several photos at the same time rather than one by one? And Mary, yes, the answer is yes to that, because we've been working on it for some time, and actually we'd hope to have it available now already. Let me just type this in. But what Mary's referring to there is that when I click on upload photo, what you'll see is that there's four links to upload a file. So we have to go into one, click on the BFG, then we go into another one, we click on another picture, and I guess for some people that does take a little bit more time than you'd hoped it would. So we are working on a new uploader. We've been working on that for a little while now, but that should be out shortly. I'll just do one more, Paddington Bear. It was a bit more complicated than we anticipated on that one, Mary. But yeah, we will have an opportunity to do that very soon. You can upload videos as well. Bear in mind that a video file is a much larger file. So the larger your file is, the longer it's going to take to upload. So if you've got a sort of 5-minute video, that's going to be quite a large file, and it could take a long time to upload. So bear that in mind when you're doing it, because you might need to wait for that to upload. Videos also take a little time to process as well, so they won't be immediately visible. They will be processing in the background, and then when it's ready, it's available to parents. You can also attach files as well if you want to. So if you want to do PDFs or Word documents, then that's possible as well. And I'm just assuming you can all see what I'm uploading here, the pictures of Paddington. If anyone can't, let me know. And so that's just got our evidence and our descriptions. We can now move on to the next stage, which is about connecting it to a framework or a curriculum. So for those of you in Scotland, you'll be familiar with the Curriculum for Excellence, but we've got lots of different frameworks on the system here. We've got ones from all over the UK, but we've got, if there's anyone in from any other countries, we've got several in there, but I've only got activated on here the EARL level and a few other ones here from Scotland, but the EYFS is one that a lot of you may be familiar with. So there's lots of different frameworks available on the system, but it all works the same way. If I go back to the EARL level, we've got our curricular areas along the top here, and then down below, we're currently in health and wellbeing here, and if we go down below, we can see the different organizers, as they're called, or the different categories or the different subheadings for each area. So health and wellbeing is split into activity and health, activity and sport, and each of these is one of the outcomes underneath that part of the curriculum. And all we need to do is attach whichever outcome applies to the observations that we're seeing. And you can do that with these green buttons down the right-hand side. You can have as many of these as you want. So I've just added one in there. I'll just add another one in over here. And you'll see actually in this column down here, there's some numbers. So there's a lot of ones, there's a couple of zeros there. What this tells you is how many observations that child has linked to that statement already. So this child had one observation linked to this statement here. And this one that's got a 0, we've got no experience of that at all. You can go across different areas as well. So as I say, we're in health and wellbeing, but we can jump into numeracy and math. And we could add in a numeracy outcome. And we could even go across different frameworks. So for those of you who are in primary schools, you might have a child who's on the first level or between the early and the first level. So you could go into the early level here, and then you could also choose the first level, which I haven't actually got added. Well, I've got the second level. So you could add in outcomes from various frameworks just by doing exactly the same thing. Now, all the outcomes that we've added, they've appeared at the top of the page here. So there's our early level ones, there's one for the second level. We can delete them if we want to using this little trash can over at the side here. And before we can move on, we're asked to do a little traffic light assessment, red, amber, green, for the child's understanding of the outcome that we've attached. Now, it's important to note here that these red, amber, green traffic lights, they're only for your internal tracking and monitoring. Parents won't see these. These don't appear in the parent profile. So the reason for that is that there's not really a standardized definition of what does red, amber, and green mean. So in one nursery, red might mean one thing, same with amber and green. It's not necessarily a bad thing that a child has been rated red, because maybe that's what your definition of them just coming to terms or just getting to grips or beginning to experience that particular outcome. And maybe from a parent point of view, if there was lots of reds, even though that's where the child should actually be, the reds might have a negative connotation for that parent. So this is for your own internal tracking and monitoring, and I'll be going into how the tracking and monitoring works in one of the webinars later on this week. I think that's tomorrow's actually. So we have to make a selection anyway, and we do that with these little buttons down here. June just asked a question there, can you combine pre-burst to 3 with the early level? Yes, absolutely. So that would work the same way here. So we're in the second level, but we can go into pre-burst to 3, and we can add in an outcome from pre-burst to 3, and it just appears at the top, just the same as all the other ones do. So yeah, absolutely, you can do that. So we can move on to the next stage once we've got our outcomes in there. Excuse me. So the next stage is called progression pathways. If you're on the EYFS, this would be your characteristics of effective learning. This is a very similar stage to the one previous. And what we've got here are different areas and different outcomes down below. These will vary depending on which framework you're using. And that actually varies a lot depending on which part of the country you're in. So for example, in Scotland, we've got 32 local authorities. Now the progression pathways for each one are unfortunately different. So that's why in your, you might see in your configuration tab, when you're looking for frameworks, you might see things like this one here, the early level from South Lanarkshire, or the East Lothian Partnership Progression Trackers. So this basically just tells us there has been content given to us by different local authorities, and you can add it in here. The step 3 is completely optional. You don't have to add in any outcomes from here at all if you don't want to. For example, I know that the first level, they don't have any progression pathways at the moment. So really, we don't have to add anything at all into that. So if you did want to, though, it works the same way. We just add an outcome with these green buttons down the right-hand side, and they appear at the top, and we can just do our red, amber, greens. So hopefully I'm not going into this in too much detail to confuse people, but it's really very simple. You don't have to use this content. You can just move on to the next stage completely. And the last stage is about connecting it to previous observations. Lindsay, I'm just going to come back to your question in just a second after this. Same with Sharon as well. So what we've got on our step 4, we have got the opportunity to connect to any previous observations. In the right-hand side here, we have got any observations that had a next step attached to them. So if you remember back to our first stage there, we could have added in a next step. And these are the things that we're wanting to follow up and come back to make sure that the child is developing in that particular area. So Alistair here has got a next step of continue to explore books and listening to them as a group. And what the system is asking is, does the observation we've just done, which is this one here, Alistair was taking part in a number activity, does this contribute or complete any of the active next steps that Alistair's working on? So let's imagine that in this case it does. So if we're saying that, yes, this observation achieves this next step, we can link up an observation from August 2019 with our observation from today using this green button on the right-hand side. And when we do this, we're now saying that this observation contributes towards this next step, this one here. And when we have an opportunity here, we can check this box to say that next step's been completed. And if we do that, it means that the next step will not show up here for future observations because it's been done. It's been achieved. We're happy with that. You can do it. We don't need to see it anymore. But it might take a child several attempts to achieve a next step. And so we can uncheck this box. And what that will mean is next time we take an observation for Alistair, this next step will still be here at this section, asking us if this observation is contributing towards that next step. I'll not link this one up just now, because I'll need it for my next demonstration. Then we can choose whether the observation is published or saved for later or deleted. If an observation is published, it's visible to parents. So you probably know, but parents get a notification in the form of an email when an observation is created for their child. And this notification, for observations, it doesn't come out until the evening. So if I publish this just now, I won't be getting an observation about this straight away. A notification about this straight away for the parent. So this gives you a little bit of time if you want to make some changes or edits or anything like that. You can save it for later, which means it's not visible to the parent. But if we publish it and the parent logs in 2 minutes time, then they would be able to see what we're doing there. Okay, so we choose whether we want to have the observation published. Let's publish this one. Now we've got a really, really handy feature down here, which is kind of hidden away, but it's very, very useful. So let's publish this observation for other children. So when I check this box, what this does, because let's imagine we're doing an activity where there's a group of children taking part, and we don't want to have to go through this entire process for every single child. What we can do is publish this observation for other children. So here we have got, on this page, a list of all the children that are in Alistair's class, and we can add in either all of them by clicking this button on the top here, or we can choose children individually and say which children were involved. So we can say that Graham, Isabel, Amy, and Joe were all involved in this particular observation. And what this will do is we'll copy everything that we've done over. So it'll be a description, our E's and O's, our outcomes and our statements, our red, amber, green traffic lights, our next steps, photographs, videos, whatever, everything will be copied over. So remember that when you're doing that, everything is going to be copied over. And our description up here is that Alistair was taking part in a number activity. So obviously, when we copy this over to Graham's profile, we don't want Alistair's name appearing in there. And there's a couple of ways around that. You could just generalize whatever you're putting in this box up here, or you can use this little code that we've got at the very top. So this little instruction panel is always here every time you take an observation. And what it says is replace the child's name in the box below with the code first name. So if I type in first name like this, and it needs to be done as one word, all lowercase, inside the square brackets. And what this does is when we copy it over, it will replace this code with the first name of our children here. So it would then say that Graham was taking part in a number activity, Isabel, blah, 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 etc. So it's a really, really handy feature because a lot of the time you'll have groups of children doing the same thing. And what this is good for is you can, even if you might want to personalize the observations a little bit more than this, but this can get the sort of scaffold of your observations done. So you've got most of it done, and then you can go back and make changes. So we can go back now that's all done. We can go back and we can go back to our observations or to Alistair's profile, and we can see that here. There we go. So Alistair was taking part in a number activity. Here's the different pictures that we had for him. And if we want to, we can add in some extra information in here, but he, forgot his number 6. I don't even know what that means, but we can put that in there. And now this is visible to parents. So parents can come in here now and they can log in and they can leave a comment or they can click on the like button. We can check the outcomes and progression pathways that we've added, and here they are. And we can see our red, amber, green. But remember that parents wouldn't see this part of it here. Okay, so that's taking an observation. If we want to make any edits, we just edit it and go back into that process to do that again. So that is 95% or more of what the team, So teachers, childminders, nursery practitioners, everybody's using the system to create observations. 95% of it is going to be that process of add observation, go through those steps and publish. Okay, so let's go and have a look, see what questions we've got from here. Lindsay has asked, do we have the milestones for complex learners on the system? Yes, so we do. I'll just open this up in a new tab. So for those of you who want to add in different frameworks, this is how you do this. You go to your configuration tab, choose curricula, and you'll get to see a list of all the frameworks that we've got added, and you can see there's heaps of them here. We can actually do bespoke ones as well. So if there's something here, something that you would like to use that you don't see on the system, then get in touch with us and we can get that on there for you. So you can see here how I've got activated South Lanarkshire. I've also got there our level pre-birth 3 and EYFS. Here's a whole list of them down here, and I think Lindsay, yeah. So we've got our milestones. If I can spell it right. Milestones. Yeah, milestones for complex support needs. So take a look at that in your config section, and we can you can get that added and see if that's exactly what you're looking for. Sharon has asked, when selecting the colors, is it based just on the observation taking place or on the outcome as a whole? So Sharon, what I would suggest there is that your rating is based on that particular outcome. Not the observation as a whole, but the particular outcome that you're added on there, because we're rating these outcomes individually. And you remember, you can change your terminology from red, amber, green to something else, anything you want. But this is all internal, so parents don't see this. So don't worry too much about that in case you're worried about parents seeing that. A couple of other questions. Janet is, when you publish an observation in the evening, does the parent see it right away, or is there always a time delay? So just to clarify that, when an observation is published, a parent could log in and see that. So if it's published and live, the parent could log in and see it, but they don't get the notification until later on. So we have had a question here, what time is the evening? So the emails, I believe, start going out at around 8 o'clock, and it's between sort of 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock that those notifications to parents will go out. You can't manually force those notifications to go out, they will just happen at that time. We've got, I think it's over 100,000 children now somewhere on the system. So you can imagine how many emails we have to send out. So we have to do it in batches, and that's why it's kind of all staggered at that point. It's just the way it works best for the system there. Another question, each child may have different learning or select outcomes. Yes, so what you can do is you can, this is our group observations. So we've got 5 children, they might all have different learning outcomes. So in that case, what you would do is you would go back to your observation and you would just edit the one that you think is green instead of red or whatever. So you may need to do you may need to do updates for some children, but the group observations will give you, as I say, that scaffold or that building, that base that you can then build on that. So hopefully. If you edit after published, do parents get a notification? Asks Fiona, and parents don't get a notification after that. They will only get one notification for each observation. So if you edit it afterwards, then they won't be notified about that edit. We have to be really careful about how many notifications we're sending out here, because you might make several edits to an observation, and we wouldn't want parents to have sort of 5 emails for one observation. So we have limited it to that, so bear that in mind. Kirsty is asking, is there a way to click back to the key group after doing an individual observation instead of it taking you back to the children's page with all the other groups? And that's a really good point Kirsty has raised there. So let's just work through that. I think we have got this in our plan, Kirsty, because this has been brought up before, and it's just really a sort of workflow issue for you guys. So when we're taking observation, you guys, I believe you would like to come back to this page, but at the moment it'll take you back to the particular child's page. So that is something that we're aware of, Kirsty, and we're working on that to try and get a solution for that. What you might have noticed in the last couple of weeks, we've accelerated development on several areas, but that's meant that we've had to focus on some areas and not so much on others. We're going to try and rebalance that now that we've got because we wanted to support home learning and parent communication a lot more. Obviously, we didn't expect this sort of situation to crop up. So we're going to try and rebalance that by focusing now more on workflow issues once we've got the sort of parent communication and home learning side of the features sorted. Okay, you're welcome. Mary did ask there about clicking update. You don't have to on that particular page, Mary. So that was good. If we go back to our config and our curricula page, you can just tick a box. If you'll notice, there's no update down here. So if I wanted to say I wanted realizing the ambition being on here, I just check that box and that's it now live on my account. So I don't have to click update there. So I'm going to go back to Alice's profile and we're going to now talk about a story. So we just did an observation and we've got an option to do a story now. I had a really good quote last week. So the difference between an observation and a story: an observation is for significant learning and a story is for an experience. The difference with a story, if I click in here, it's just one page and it is very, very simple. It doesn't include things like next steps or your E's and O's or your statements or your red, amber, greens or your traffic lights. All it is really just this one page about what was happening. You can have optional learning, optional child's voice, upload a photo, and then you publish. And so let's say that Alistair was having fun in an activity. Oh, don't know how I managed to do that. Fun in an activity. Okay, and we can put in optional learning here. There's optional child's voice as well. You can change the date, upload a photo. Well, let's put in another photo that we had here. I'll do this Explorer, whatever that is. And then we'll finish by publishing that story. We use it in our nursery for things like birthdays, or we've been out and about, or I've seen over the last couple of weeks while everyone's was working from home, I've seen some really creative ways that some people have been using this. So one teacher from a school, what she does on a Monday is she'll create a video as this story, and she will send a story out to her parents, to all the children, sorry, and the parents, and it will be talking about the work that she wants them to do for this week, what home learning can they do, and just really keeping in touch with them. And that was a really powerful and lovely way that I've noticed the stories being used here. The story doesn't in any way contribute to learning. It's really just a kind of communication tool, but just letting you know that something nice has happened. So you can see how it says story up here. Our observation that we did before says observation. This is all published and it's still visible to the parents. They can still click the like button in the comments, but it's really just a case of you wanting to show an experience that's happened in the nursery here. Okay, so let's get some questions in here as well. So how simple will it be for the parents to use? For example, if they want to share info or photos with us about their child, and that's from Melissa. So Melissa, there's a parent app available. In fact, I should be able to bring this up here. If I can share my phone with you. Okay. So hopefully you can see my phone here. I've got to do this, keep forgetting. And what I've got, I'll go back into, so if you can see up in the top row of my apps there, I've got LJ Parents. So if I click into that, this is what a parent can see if they're using the parent app. So they can, this parent's got 2 children, so two brothers, and we can click into Alistair's face here and we can see the different observations that have been added. So there's the ones we just did there. There's a story, which was taking part in thing, and there's the other one we just did, taking part in number activity. Now, if we go back to the main page for Alistair, what you'll see is that there is a blue button there called Parent Contributions. You can see that. And what you can use this for, or parents can use this for, is for adding contributions from home. So if I click on that, it'll take us into that process. And you can see I've added one there already. So let's say that we want to, I'm going to click on this green button that says new. And this is the process that we've got here. So I'm going to choose my category. We've just got one called Achievements from Home, and I'll say that, I don't know what we were doing today. We were looking out the window. Now, you guys, this is why I don't work in a school, guys, because this is the sort of thing that I come up with on the spur of the moment. It was a nice day. And what you can do, if I click on the upload photo button and I choose my files, I can take a new photo or use my photo library. I'll take a photo out the window and I'll take a picture up there. There's a big tree. Use that, upload that, and that way, so it could be, you know, they were doing homework of some description, they were doing a picture, doing a drawing, doing some sort of physical activity. And I'm going to just flip back now to my just going to flip back to my thing here. Hold on a second, sorry. I can find it. There we go. Okay, so there we go. Yeah, so hopefully I've gone back onto Alice's profile here. So what we can see here is if I go into Alistair's Achievements from Home down on the left-hand side, let me know if you can't see this, by the way, because I'm not sure if I'm doing this right. Yeah, there's the one we just did. It was a nice day and we were looking out the window. So hopefully you can see that there. Gillian has just asked, can parents add a video to their contribution? So at the moment, no, you can't, or no, they can't. Parents can add videos. So there's a couple of reasons for that. The main one really is it's the resources that are on our system. So if you can imagine a video of being quite a large file, what our system does is it has to store that, stream that, save that, and back that up. And that is quite taxing on the system. So at the moment, we're limiting this parents to photos only, because unfortunately, a lot of parents probably would use this as like their own little private YouTube, and we simply can't support that. So we have to have a limitation here, and that's coming with parents only being able to see photographs. So hopefully that's understandable to all and to parents as well. But yeah, it's a very common question, that can parents upload them? So that's how parent contribution. I'm just going to go back to some of the questions that you've asked. Okay, so Gillian, again, if it's backdated, the parents not get a notification. There is a time limit on that, actually, Gillian, somewhere, and I can't remember off the top of my head. I would need to check on that. So for example, if you create an observation and you put a date of last year, the parent is not going to get a notification of that. And I think it's maybe a week or several days. But beyond that, we don't send out notifications. It may be something we can look at, but that's just the way the system's set up at the moment. So there is a limit to where that notification happens, because we didn't want to be notifying parents of things that happened a long time ago. Because we did used to do this, but then parents would log in and they would see a notification. Well, I'll just give you an example of that. So if we go to Alistair's Achievements from Home here, Alistair's observations, we've had an observation from the 30th of March today, one from 30th of March there, 13th of January we go back to. Now, if we had just published this one from 13th of March 2018, the parent gets a notification to say you've got a new observation. And when they look in, the first thing they see is the 30th of March and the two for the 30th of March and then back in January. So they would need to understand that they had to go back and realize they hadn't seen that one. So there's a few things for us to work out to get there, but maybe that's something we'll look at. Janet's asking, you send out stories to groups of children like in an observation? Yeah, absolutely, Janet. So if we were to edit the story here, what you'll see is there's still this option here for publish this observation for other children. So this works for stories too. We can publish it to other children, add in whichever children or the whole class or whatever, and we can do that there. let me just scroll through some of these questions, a bit more than I was expecting. Can the parents see replies on the parental contributions, and can they reply? So parents can see, so yes is the answer to that. However, I would like to maybe point out also that the system was never designed, or certainly the observations are not designed for a two-way communication. It's really for the parents just to contribute or comment on what they think about the learning or how that learning links to home. It's not the sort of thing where a parent should come to Alistair's profile, for example, see an observation and think, well, I want to leave a comment on David's observation here. David wasn't well this morning, please keep an eye on him, that sort of thing. It was really just about the observations for the comment on their child's learning. So if they put a comment in here, yes, you'll see it. Yes, they'll see any replies that you put through. But I think we should try and manage parent expectations that they shouldn't be using this as a back and forth communication tool. So hopefully that's quite clear for you there. And I think maybe Anne, that answers your one. So Anne has asked, when using a story to communicate a task with parents, can parents send just a message back using messages? Oh, sorry. So this is something different actually. This is about the new messages feature that we've got. So we had a session on that last week. Messages are slightly different. They're not connected in any way to learning, to observations or stories. Messages are really for you guys to broadcast. When a message is sent out, so it could be homework for the week, parents can reply to that, but the reply doesn't appear anywhere in the child's profile. The reply only goes back to the email that you guys have set up in your configuration. So if the parents have questions, yeah, we need to find a different channel to communicate that sort of thing. Sarah's brought up a good point actually. So remember when we did the copying the observation to other profiles, and we changed the first name so that it wasn't just Alistair was taking part in number activity. What the system doesn't do is take gender into account. So if we'd said him or her or anything like that, it won't change that automatically. That's something we will look at. At the moment, we can only do the first name. So bear that in mind. And when you're doing these, so maybe you want to generalize it. So it could be a group of children were doing this and they had fun and they did this, for example. Kelly is asking, can I choose a date in advance? For example, I'm preparing video story posts to be sent out each day this week. So I could prepare them all in advance, but date them for each day. Well, that's a good question actually, Kelly, because I'm not sure. So I'm not sure if we can go ahead in time. So let's try it. Let's try it now. I'll do it with a story actually. That's probably easier. So that's a good idea because you're getting yourself prepared for the whole week. So you're recording your videos or your stories or whatever you want to do. And we'll say that's the story for Tuesday. Whatever, or you can see we've got spell check in here actually. Hopefully that's useful for everybody. And the date, well, yes, we can. So we can set the dates, Kelly. Now, hopefully that's what you wanted. What I suspect maybe you're asking is, can we schedule the observations to publish? Well, unfortunately, no, we can't. So there's no sort of scheduling feature available at the moment anyway. So if you had this, we'd set this up for tomorrow for the 31st, you'd have to remember to come in tomorrow and publish that observation. So just remember that even if you've created it and saved it, it's not going to publish. There's no way to set that publishing. Anonymous has said, can parents see the last time we logged in? No, parents can't see the last time you logged in. You can see when they've logged in. If we go back to Alistair's profile, what we can see here is that Alistair, on his left-hand side, he's got his parent, John, his dad, John, and his last login was today. So that's happened, but we can see, even though he's last logged in today, if I scroll down here, we've got this little marker that tells us when John last logged in. And we can see it was last logged in on the 12th of March and looked at Alistair's profile then. So this is telling us that John hasn't seen these observations. So he's only seen up to this particular one here. He hasn't seen any of the new ones that we've done. So this is really handy for you being able to see what a parent has actually seen. Okay. hopefully that's answered that one. Anonymous. There's a load of questions have come in, guys. Hopefully I've got to them all. I haven't strolled past any. Just shout out if your question hasn't been answered. So for the last thing for today, what I'm going to show you is the Home tab, because this is a really important screen that everybody sees when they first log in. So click on Home over here. So what you'll see on the Home tab, you'll actually, whenever we do a release, you'll see that we've got this little blue bar that tells you if there's any new features. And I think we did one, yeah, we did one last week. But you'll also see, this is the screen everyone sees when they first log in, and it's a summary of all your recent observations. So here we can see the summary for Alistair, sorry, the most recent observation we did for Alistair. This is his story here. And here's one we did when we were taking part in number activity. We copied it over to Joe, Amy as well, and Graham. And you can see here actually that it gives you the first line of the observation, and it tells us, we can see that we've actually changed that name successfully there. These are all set to published. So if we'd realized actually Graham didn't take part in this particular observation, we can come along here and we can change it from published to saved. So that means it's no longer visible to the parent. So it's saved now, and we can go and publish it again. Say we had a few of them saved here, and like Kelly's suggestion where she had a few videos ready to publish, they were all saved like this. What we can do is we can either one by one go and publish them, or we can check the box here, or there's this check all one, and we can come up the top and say, I want to change this from saved to published, click go, and that sets them all to published. And that would send out, Kelly, your notifications. You can edit any observation or view it from here. That's how you do that as well. Next to observations is a tab called notifications. And this is a list of children, and a child will appear on this list if they haven't had an observation in a certain period of time. It's not necessarily a bad thing that a child appears in this list. It's really just to give you guys a heads up of children who, for whatever reason, haven't had one. So now all mine, this is just our test account, so we've got a lot of children who have not had observations for a long time here. But if it's been 5 days, 7 days, 10 days, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because Simon might only be with you a couple of days a week and he hasn't had an observation yet, or you've got, you know, different expectations for the parents about how many observations that you take. You can set, you can see here that notifications for your site are shown only for children with no observations in the last 21 days. You can change this number here, 21 days, to anything you want. So you might want to send it to 30 days or only 7 days or whatever it is, you can do that. So you go into your configuration tab, that does it there. If you want to, you can put in little reasons for why. So we've got one here for Robin visiting relatives in New Zealand, for example, and he's been there for a while. So if you want to, you can do that, but this is again only an internal page. Parents don't see this. You do get an email every Sunday evening with these details on it. You'll probably have seen those. So that's where that comes from. Is there, I'll just try and catch up with some questions here. So is there a difference between parents adding a photo to their child's gallery and adding a photo to a parent contribution? Yes, there is. That was anonymous. So yes, there is. I'll come back to this screen. If we go back to Alistair's profile, because we just showed the achievements from home section that you can do there. So that's this blue button down here, achievements from home. And we did that with the parent app. With the gallery, parents can upload photos here. I guess we're going to try and phase this gallery out, because really what is the purpose? Parents can upload photos to here if they want to. They can come in here and they can click on each one and they can see the different activities that were here. But they can actually do this to the profile as well. But if they upload a photo to here, it will just stay in the screen. That's the only place it will go. They can download this gallery anytime they want to. They can save that and they can keep it. But the photos that go to the gallery, that's the only place they will see them. The parent contributions, we go into our achievements from home. So this is where I just uploaded my picture from out the window out here. So at the moment, the parent contributions reside just in this screen here. This is where they'll stay in this achievements from home. But in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be making a new change, which will
making a new change which will allow the parent contributions to show in the child's profile. So if I go back to his observations here, we will eventually allow parent contributions to appear here, so that home learning will appear alongside nursery and school learning. So it's all going to be in one screen. Yeah, so hopefully that answers that question there. And Sharon's asked, is there going to be home learning tab added? Sharon, that's actually something you can do yourself. Maybe you can come, send me an email on that one there. We did a session on that last week, and I'll help you with that separately, so we're not going over old ground again. And Heather's asked, will we be able to add outcomes or next steps for parent contributions and learning at home? So yes, that's the ambition, to get to that stage as well. So those parent contributions that parents add, they will appear in the child's profile, and you'll be able to connect them to frameworks and statements and outcomes, just in the way you do with normal observations. So yes, that will be coming. I don't have a timeline on that at the moment yet. It's all quite hectic at the moment, but it's something we are working on. So Anne has just given us a bit of feedback there to say that for her, the gallery has been very handy for discussing pupil pictures and evidence at parents' night. So yeah, I'm sure you guys will work out ways to make these things useful. So whereas in our nursery, we don't use it so much, there's obviously people that do. So there's lots of different things we can do. And Sonia, hello Sonia from Arbor Green. Will parent contributions take away a notification for the child? No, I don't think so. So what Sonia is referring to here is, for those notifications, so remember those children who haven't had an observation in a certain period of time, they appear on our list here, this one here. So it's been 42 days since Simon's had an observation. So a parent contribution isn't going to remove that at the moment. It might be something we look at, Sonia, in the future, but certainly at the moment it's not. What this also does, if you have a look at these icons up here, so see on Charlie over here at the top right, we've got this, it's supposed to be an eye with a little line through it. Charlie's one of the children who hasn't had an observation in that minimum period, so this just highlights that to tell us that. So until he's had an observation taken, that will remain there. So maybe Sonia will in the future, but at the moment it's not going to. Gillian's asking if there's any links to previous webinars we've done, and you know, actually I don't know. I think we need to get that on our website. This has progressed a lot faster than we thought it would. So I haven't got that, but Gillian, I will put a page on our website and I'll show you where it's going to go. So on learningjournals.co.uk, if you come all the way down the bottom, there's a resources section down here, and I'm going to have a webinars one here, and I will put links to all the videos for all the previous ones that we've done. So hopefully that will take care of that. I'll aim to have that up today. If not today, it'll be tomorrow. So that's where to look for that. Come to our website, learningjournals.co.uk, and down there. Now, you're welcome. Marta, you've asked, can you connect any of the observations with the parent contribution or the opposite? No, they're separate things at the moment, I'm afraid. So parents create the parent contributions and you create the observations. What we will let you do though is eventually is to add in the outcomes or statements that apply to that observation from the curriculum. So yeah, there'll be a new feature, well, features coming out for that in the coming weeks. So keep an eye out for that. Anne's asked about where's the place to find about messaging, and that will be in that webinars link down here when I add that in, because we did a webinar on that the other day, and I will send you the link to that. Let me just finish off, guys, with these tabs that are on our home tab here. I can't remember now if I planned to do the home tab, but we'll just do it. Why not? Oh my goodness, that's nearly an hour. Right, we'll just quickly go through it. So we just did our notifications tab. Next to that are parent interactions. So every time a parent either clicks on that like button or leaves a comment, it'll appear in this page here. And here you can see we've got one from John that says, this is great, and he's clicked on the thumbs up here. It's a really great way for you guys to evidence that your parents are engaged and actually taking notice of all the hard work that you guys do creating these fantastic observations, because we felt we were spending a lot of time doing our paper profiling, only for them just to be ignored, not ignored by parents, but they didn't have time to come in and look at them To leave a comment was very, very unusual as well. But now, because of the system, when they can log in either through their computer or their laptop or on their phone on the app or whatever, it's much more easy for them to contribute into feedback. And these parent interactions are really invaluable when you're trying to evidence that you've got an engaged parent base and they're actually taking notice of all the hard work and the observations that are happening. Next to this one is parent contributions. So all the parents' contributions that are added here. Ones that you haven't, you'll be notified with this little marker here that says we've got one new one. And it's this one here down here that's not been viewed yet. So the one that I just did for Alistair, so we can just go straight to that one there. So that's kind of how that works. Very, very simple. Next steps, I'm not going to go into the next two because we've got, I believe, we've got a webinar later on in the week for next steps and one on reports as well. So I'll go into these ones later on. Now, if at any time you guys are unsure of how to do something, if you click on your face up the top right hand, because I'm sure you've all uploaded your own picture, if you click on your face up here, you will see the help section down here. And if we click on that, we have some frequently asked questions. But if there's a question you guys want to ask, you can put it into this box here, this Ask for Help box. And when you click submit, that sends an email to us and we'll get back to you usually pretty quickly with the answer for that or whatever it is you're needing help with. There's other ways to get in touch with us as well. We've got on our website, which is just learningjournals.co.uk. We've got our phone number at the top here. We're not in the office at the moment, but our phone does get put through to somebody who'll pick that up for you. And there's also this live chat. If you see this little speech bubble down here, if we click on that, we can have a live chat and you can see that both Cindy and I are available here, so you can leave a new message and we'll get back to you with that as quickly as we can. So we want to try and support you guys as much as we can. It's a very unusual time for everybody, and making sure you can use the system and you understand it all is very important to us. So I think that will do it. Well, someone sneaked in a question here. That's Janie. Janie again from Fox Cover. Hi, Janie. Would it be possible to change where it says parents to parents and carers? That is something we could look at. I'm assuming this is the top line up the top here. Janie, I guess what I'll need to look at is how that, can we fit everything into that? But I'm sure there's something we can do around that. You probably won't be surprised to hear that that's not going to be our top priority at the moment, but I will certainly add that to our list of things to be done. Okay, thank you everybody for coming along. It's been it's actually gone a lot quicker than I thought it would here. Hope you will be joining me for the future ones for the rest of the week. And if there's anything at all you need, use those methods to get in touch with us that I said, and we'll see you again. All right, thanks very much, guys. Bye-bye.